And are we live on Facebook on your page or not?
No, because
No.
you didn't tell me, so it's not. But you want to be live? Okay.
No, it's okay. It's up to you.
No, because now it will take a little bit time to put it. So
let's go.
Let's return. Thank you. No problem. So I have to go and share the screen again. Okay, so this over here. And when you try to do it fast, normally it goes slow. Well, okay, so some house rules. I would ask you to leave your microphones in mute during this part of the presentation. You can use non-verbal cues in order to raise the hand or say yes or no. There is some icons on the participants that you can use. This will be a conversation, meaning that I will do a short presentation. So this will not be most of the time me talking. Actually, it will be the reverse. I will talk for more or less 20 minutes, and then I will answer questions. It's an interesting thing that I've been doing webinars for a long time, and the traditional model would be most of the time presenting and a little time for Q&A. Nowadays, because people are much more used to this, I think that it works better in the reverse. Short presentation and then a lot of Q&A, because people are much more at ease than before. They were not, they were more passive, and now they are more active. So this has been my experience, and the webinar that Ala was referring with Sardi Club that we did together, it was like that. It was the reverse. We did a short presentation, and then we went for Q&A. If you, during the question and answer, there is a trick that is easier than clicking on the screen with a mouse, that is using the space key. So if you click on the space key, you activate your microphone and you can talk, and then click again and you deactivate the microphone. It works very well, and you will see that it will be simpler. Okay, somebody is drawing. So what I want to share with you guys is, Ala said that I was going to present myself, and I'm presenting myself. I work as a teacher in several universities across Europe and Ecuador. I'm a trainer, so I was doing training in JCI, and I'm also doing training as a professional. I'm a speaker in conferences, and I also work as a consultant. About this, I think it's relevant to understand that I've been working remotely since '94. So when people now talk, oh, remote work, I've been doing remote work with dial-up connections, with internet that was really, really bad. But I managed, and also most of the people didn't have, in '94, most of the people didn't have an email. So my remote work was phone and fax. It was, and I was really, really high tech with that. Fax was high tech. And another thing is that I coordinate e-learning projects since '97, again, with that technology. E-teacher, like doing online courses since '98. And as in JCI, I was the founder of JCI Portugal, trainer and senator. It's not there, but I was also national president of JCI Portugal back in 2006. So this is very fast, my presentation. And I want to I don't know if this will be the future. All I was saying, I will be talking about the future. This is my opinion about what I think it will happen. And this is based in one thing. Back in 2009, I did a big bet in terms of digital marketing. And because it was the time of the financial crisis, every sector was going down and the digital sector went up, very up. So if you look the expansions of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, everything comes from there. So I think we are living more or less the same scenario, but in a much bigger expression. So let's see what is the future. So first of all, it is sure that we will have a world recession. This is a phenomenon that never occurred, because normally recessions are like, okay, United States has a recession, Japan is growing, or China is growing, and Europe is having a recession, Africa is going up, and the Middle East is going down. And it goes like this and never goes like all at the same time. It's very, very weird. Even when it was the Great Depression in 29, it was not, it was in year by year. So it started in the United States, then to Europe, and other places it were even growing, for instance, in South America and everything. But over now, it's a world recession. So we have to understand that everybody is going to be a little bit more poor. So that's it. So that means that companies will also cut costs. And this is very important because, again, back in 2009, 2008, companies were thinking, okay, where we can cut fat, what can we consider fat? So we can consider fat things that we don't see giving a direct revenue. So, for instance, advertising. How many sales I get from an outdoor or an ad on TV? And the marketing director would say, well, I cannot say it precisely, so we cut there. So training, okay, training is important. Of course it is important, but how much can I get from each dollar, each euro that I put in training? Well, I don't know, says the training director. Okay, so let's cut there. Now, we already have kind of slim fat area in the marketing area, in the training area, so where we can cut. So probably we can cut in other stuff. And that might be buildings. And I will explain this in a moment. People are gaining new skills. So suddenly we are seeing that everybody is like undertaking a 1 month, 2 months course in digital skills. For instance, give you an example. I'm using Zoom for several years. Nobody knew what Zoom was. When I was going to explain Zoom is this, I don't know how it is. I've never used it. And now I don't need to explain. Everybody has used it. Everybody's very used to this. I was doing, until this crisis, I was doing like a webinar every month or every 2 months. And it was, most of them were done by my own initiative and not because my clients wanted, because there was a market to sell webinars, nothing. Now I'm doing per week around 5 to 7 webinars and to everywhere in the world. So, and some of them for JCI, for instance, I was doing for JCI Tehran, I was doing for JCI Russia. I'm missing some JCI more, and of course, now JCI Damascus. So also, we have a new view about life-work balance. So people are at home and they are seeing that they are not living their life like they should. So I normally compare this like the hamsters, okay? Because think about this. You go, especially in big cities, you will take like 1 hour to go from your home to the office and 1 hour back. That means 2 hours per day, 10 hours per week, 40 hours per month. A week of work going A to B, B to A. And you don't gain much from that because especially when we are working, talking about offices, offices were created in a kind of industrial age. So you need offices in order to share economies of scale. So office had that sense. If you have mainframes, computers, so you would have a room for computers and everybody would have a terminal. So you couldn't work from home. So to give you an idea, imagine what this crisis would be back in the 90s or in the early 2000s. It would be a catastrophe because everything will stop. It was impossible. And now people are at home and they can do kind of creative breaks. They can go outside a little bit, the ones that can. They can take some air and they have silence to work. Okay, that is something that I will talk a little bit further. So at the same time, they can be more with their family. So in a way, and that's why I like the hamster example, is that a hamster is like going on the wheel, but because the hamster is a hamster, for him, he's going somewhere, but actually he's not. But when the hamster gets out of the wheel, starts looking to the wheel, he sees, I was inside a wheel. So people are like taking this notion that they are in a wheel. And they are like doing the same thing, doing the same thing, doing the same thing. Because especially in, for instance, in Southern European countries, this is very clear, is that people go to their job and they need to socialize. So they socialize inside of the job. So the work doesn't go so well. So they have to stay until late and they come home, they have dinner, sit in front of the television, fall asleep, and wake up the next day to do exactly the same thing. So it is the wheel going always the same way. Another thing is environmental constraints. So we are having here a kind of perfect storm, is that for one side, companies need to cut costs. On the other side, people are getting used to working not from the office, and we have environmental constraints that it would be nice if there was not so many cars going A to B and B to A. Eva, you had a question. Can you press space and make your question? Can you make your question? Yes.
I think she wrote, I'm sorry. Maybe she pressed it by mistake.
Okay. Because I saw the raising hand thing. Okay,
yeah.
No problem. So another thing is that we have nowadays the best digital technological and infrastructure ever. And tomorrow it will be better, and the next day it will be better even. Even a lot of development is being done now because of this crisis, because never in the history of mankind we demanded so much from the network. And it is working with some flaws, but imagine that the consumption of electricity would explode in the same way. We wouldn't have the resources to give electricity to everybody, but we are having resources to give in good way, in average, to everybody. We have the resource of internet. So talking about leadership, because this is the main thing, I think that leadership and work are very connected, of course, and there are some falling myths that we have. Is that one of them is that, and we see this a lot in offices, is that presence means work. So if somebody's there, it's because it's working. If somebody's not, it's not working. And this is really, really not the case. We all know cases of people that are at the office and they are very good at faking that they work. There is several techniques to do that, a lot of techniques. Another thing is that the office is a productive space, okay? And for that, I advise you to go on TED. There is a video that I always give as an example. That is a video that says, the title is something like, "Why Work Doesn't Happen at the Office." And this guy is explaining that he has made this question to a lot of people across the world. If you really need time to do, let's say, a very important report that you need time and focus, how you will do it. And if you think about this question in your case, you might have this kind of answer like this, like he also gave. Go to office before everybody goes, stay afterwards, everybody has gone, stay at home and do it on the plane, do it on the train, do it at a coffee shop nearby, but very few people will say at the office in working hours. What is very interesting and poses a question, why the hell we have an office? If people don't feel that if they need to be really good at their work, the best thing is to be there when there is nobody or not to be there at all. So this is one of the myths that office is productive, and it's not. And then there is another thing that is the open space. Oh, open space office. Well, open space office is theoretically, it goes like this. People interact, people get ideas from each other, and they create amazing new things. The thing that I see, and I visit a lot of open offices, is that people are with headsets, hearing music or something like that in order to be able to concentrate. And they will be prematurely deaf, and it's the only way of working there. And they are not connecting with each other. They are sending messages through chat to the person in front, or sending emails to the person in front in order to at least have some discipline. And it's again a myth. It's not a place to create work. And the other thing is performance evaluation. Many managers do their evaluation of their workers by looking, he's here, he's here, he's here, he's here, he's not, he's here, he's not, he's here, he's not. Good, 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 bad, bad, good, 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 like this. So it's not logical. So being present doesn't mean that you are doing good work. So evaluation of results is much more important. So think about this. All of this is now being questioned because, for instance, offices will return to work, but I bet that some rules will happen. In some companies, people will go to the office for 2 weeks, and then other people will go for 2 weeks. So actually, the office is getting too big for that. Others will stay at home for the whole time because it's less dangerous and everything. So open spaces actually are the worst in terms of this pandemic. So it's like a perfect storm about redesigning how people work. Finally, okay, and how we lead people, how will be the future on this? Well, I think that you will see a huge crisis in office real estate because companies will need smaller spaces. They will have more people working remotely. And also, this might be a solution for hotels that are empty because no tourism. Why? Because they can create a truly socializing environment. We can have the company day that, let's say, a team meets in a hotel, has a nice meal, has the opportunity to do a lot of brainstorming in the nice room with good equipment in order to do what they need to do in terms of exchanging ideas, creating new concepts, instead of having these kind of hybrid spaces that you have to do everything in that. And it doesn't work because each person is in their own rhythm. So remote work is now a big thing because we are doing the biggest remote work experience ever. Everybody's trying out Everybody is doing that. And Allah was giving a good example that even in this confinement, quarantine, whatever we want to call, JCI Damascus is working and doing stuff and doing projects. This is proving that it is possible, something that a lot of people thought it wasn't. And one of the things is that also the meetings are shorter and much more effective. When you have an online meeting, it's much more effective and shorter than before. Because before it is, people are getting late, arriving at, and I remember my experience in Syria, that is very close. We are in cultural terms, we are very close to, in Portugal, to Syria, because we are always arriving late. So, but online, people sense that it's at that point, there is no excuse, there is no traffic, there is nothing. And also you can connect through your mobile. So that's not like, oh, my computer. No, there is no excuse. So people are getting addicted to this and creating truly collaborative teams. Also, training is changing, and some of you are trainers, and we have to understand that we are going towards micro-learning. So small bits of learning, not big chunks that you will learn for someday to use. Now we need just-in-time learning, because we live in a world of learn, unlearn, and relearn. So that's why also distance learning is booming. My university, where I am a coordinator of a digital marketing course, we managed to, in 24 hours, to move all the face-to-face courses to e-learning. But because we were already doing that same course in e-learning since 2014, so it was very easy because we were used to. Now it's interesting because a lot of people are getting used to this, to learn at a distance, to interact at a distance instead of being in a classroom. And believe me that we are like talking about the possibility of next month, May, at the beginning of May, to restart the classes face to face. And one of the things that is my guess is that people, imagine this, there will be students that will say, I will not enter a room with 30 other people. I want to continue online. And those were the same people that were very mad that we were going online. So it is interesting that the more days we have of this confinement, of this crisis, the more the behaviors are changing. Also, everybody will have, and already has, but doesn't have this notion, a unique learning path. So we can learn from different ways, and because never in the history of mankind we had so much knowledge accessible to everybody. A note about digital communication. Now we have the best tools, and I have two examples there, WhatsApp and Zoom, but much of the communication is not working because people don't know exactly how to communicate. But this is interesting because they are getting it from trial and error. So 1 month ago, they were very bad at communicating. Now they are much better, and they are getting better and better. So don't forget, socialization will still be needed. We need to have face-to-face. But now it's a different experience. We will value much more when we have face-to-face communication. Because think about this. Till some months ago, we would go to any kind of a restaurant, bar, or everything, and we would see people in front of each other with this. And they are communicating with others that are not there, and they are not communicating with a person in front. And it's very funny because people say, oh, but face-to-face is so important. But why do we really think that? Because if we really think that, we wouldn't do this. So one thing is what we say, another thing is what we do. So some fast tips to finish, and then we start our conversation. Rethink your organization, rethink yourself even. How you can do stuff, how you can use this learning opportunity to do something that is very important. Learn with the crisis. Use technology in a smart way. There is so many tools that we can use nowadays, and they are so fantastic. And they were there since 3, 4, 5, 10, even 20 years, and we were not using them. And communicate wisely. We have like a menu of possibilities of communicating. And we have to understand that at the end of the day, we are humans. We have like 93% of communication is non-verbal. So for instance, when I'm talking with you with video, I'm trying to get to 100% of communication with you guys. And because I'm not seeing you at this point, because of the bandwidth, I'm not getting from your side that feedback that I need, but we will talk in a moment. So this is something that to finish. Oh, I got a feedback from Allah. So this is something that I've been showing for, let's say, the last 5 or 6 years. This wave is a big wave that we have every year in Portugal, in a place called Nazaré that is on the coast of Portugal, and it is 30 meters high, so unbelievable. And there is a guy surfing it. And for the last 5 or 6 years, I have been saying, look, a digital wave is coming, and you have to prepare yourself. If you don't prepare yourself, you will be crushed. If you prepare yourself, you will surf it. And I never imagined that the wave would come with a pandemic. Now we are all in that position. We are trying to surf it. Some of us will fall. Some of us will surf it. I think that, for instance, one of the things that I try to explain everywhere in the world is that people that don't have digital skills, being leaders or led, if they don't have digital skills, they will be crushed. They will have no jobs. They will not have a possibility of having another job. Even if you think about small shops over here in Portugal, for instance, even small shops that never did nothing about e-commerce, now they are doing e-commerce in some way or the other, because it's either that or closed down. So we arrived to the Q&A. I only want to show you one thing. You see a QR code there. If you have the LinkedIn app on your phone, if you go to, you see over here, there is a QR code near the search. So if you click there and you put it like this to scan, and you point it to the screen, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. So, and we can continue the conversation even after the Q&A. So that is what I wanted to show. So now we have until 4:30, if you wish, to answer all your questions, because I think it's much more rich to have a conversation than a monologue. So let's have a conversation. So if
thank you very much. A very nice insight for the future, and many of it is realistic actually, and should be common. But after a crisis or sorry, what was the word? How do you say it? Pandemic? I don't know. Pandemic, yes, that's the word. So for our members, is there a question? I think for any person who would like to ask a question. There is hand.
I will. Yes.
Nisri.
Yeah. Tell me, yeah. Nisri.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your valuable presentation and talk. I have a question related to the privacy. Like we have now digital tools, several digital tools, but we also hear about privacy issues with Zoom, for example, and maybe other tools. So what do you think of this?
The privacy issue has been around since the beginning of everything in terms of the internet. I would say that we have to have some pragmatic view about it. If I'm, for instance, working with, let's say, military industry, pharmaceutical industry, privacy issues are very, very important. If I'm doing, for instance, a webinar like this, I'm not very concerned in the privacy issues, because what is the problem of this? This is kind of public, what I'm doing here. So I have to always do this kind of decision making, because if we really need to, let's say, deal with privacy, we need to have experts in cybersecurity to deal with that. And that's possible. It's like, I normally compare this like living in a city where there is a lot of crime. You will have probably some a steel door, the windows will be protected in some way, you will have some alarms. And living in a very quiet place in the countryside, it is not logical to have the same security measures. So also at the same time, we have a kind of, as consumers, we have a kind of schizophrenic view about privacy. So we like that brands know what we want in advance even. So it's, oh, great service and everything. But at the same time, we are very afraid that they get our data, because I don't know what they can do with that data. So we have to understand that there is some trade-off. If we want better services, if we want even better health, we need to have a kind of pragmatic view about this. Because, for instance, to fight a pandemic like this, you need data. And if people don't allow to have data, even in metadata, it will be a problem, and people will die because it's better to be private. So we have to balance this. Abdullah has a question also. Abdullah, you can activate your microphone with the space key. It's easier like that.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Filipe. I'm Abdullah from JCI Aleppo. First of all, let me thank you for this training, and thank JCI Damascus, representing by LP Senator Ella, for this chance. My question is, do you think, Mr. Filipe, this digital wave, as you call, is temporary and will over after this world phenomenon?
Okay, first of all, Aleppo was one of the cities that I didn't manage to visit. It was the idea was to visit in my second visit in 2011, but I was in April 2011, so it was not very good to do that at that point. So I hope that in my next visit I will come to Aleppo. I've heard absolutely amazing things. Actually, a small note: I was in the soap museum in Saida in Lebanon, and they were explaining to us that the soap of Aleppo is the best. So I got because of the soap factories in Aleppo. Well, what you were saying, I don't think this is a fad that is passing, because I've been the last 22, 23 years working on digital world. And I remember that I was working as a teacher in a postgraduate course back in 2001, and about e-commerce and e-business. And we had like full classrooms, full. And in 2002, we had zero. Because back then people thought, oh, this of the internet was a fade, so it's over. It's because of the .com bubble that burst. So no more internet. It was a joke. It was a joke because now we use more the internet. All the things, if you notice, all the things that I said about the future, you can trace it before coronavirus. It's not like, oh, now with the coronavirus. What I'm saying is that we are doing some experiment that never in the history of mankind has been like this. So people are really eager to return to the office, but you will see that there will be a bit of a trauma. So I don't believe that people will live this situation and will be very happy to go to very crowded places, to be in offices that are crowded, that are noisy. Sensitivity will be different. And companies will suggest to cut costs, saying like, okay, we have this building for 200 people. When you have a building for 200 people, you might have at least 20 people working because you have a building for 200 people. So if you cut the building, you cut 20 people just for that don't bring any added value. Only they are there because you have the building. And then you have all the costs involved for that. So if you, let's say, divide this cost between employees and the company, employees can have their job or even get a raise. And basically they have less costs because they are not going back and forth to one place, spending on gasoline or on public transportation or whatever. And time is of the essence. So I think we will try to return as like business as usual, but that will not be possible because people will get addicted. Companies will have to cut costs. So I wouldn't say that everybody will go to remote work. Maybe if it will be a big change, and it will be a big change, a third will be in remote work. That will be, imagine, a third of the office workforce in remote work. But it can be some hybrid models. They might have days at the office and days at home. So every time we had this kind of crisis, some change happened, and it was through digital, because digital gives us the possibility to be more productive. So I think that it will not be like from 0 to 100, but we might have like from 3 to 30. So Nada has a question. And then
hello everyone.
Hello, Nada. Your connection, I think, is a little bit bad in terms of sound. Nada.
Thanks. Hello, really, thank you for this interesting, very like. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yes, thanks for this interesting presentation. It was amazing, really. What I'm trying to say that every bad things have good sides and positive sides, especially for this old mentality for managers that said that you should be in your place while you're working, you should get in time, and all these things makes us feel like we're not so good to work. And for me, I just have the two experience. Really, working from home is more flexible, and you have the time to be more creative and more productive. So I think it's a good thing to be a trend for the future, just to carry on in this.
Your sound is cutting.
Hello.
يا ندى.
ندى الصوت عندك سيء، معني نكتب اللي بدك تقولي كتابة.
Okay.
You write it down, please,
Yes.
in the chat box.
Yes, sorry for the bad internet connection.
I will be glad. I'm seeing the chat, so I will be glad in answering through the.
Adnan, I think there's someone. Adnan,
Okay.
do you want to ask something? You unmuted yourself. Adnan? No, he didn't answer, I think.
Swanson was Swanson.
Sosan. Yes. So I'll mute
Yeah.
myself.
Can you make your question? Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Sosan. I'm from JCI Damascus. Thank you for this presentation. It was really interesting. My question is regarding like now we're like actually before this crisis, we're all studies how technology is affecting children and humans in general regarding like making them more introverts and increasing depression. So like now I'm reading a lot of how they want to, like you're saying, shifting all those workspace and everything to online platforms. So don't you think this can, like even decreasing face-to-face communication can cause more people to be introverts and lack of communication and like causing more depression maybe? I don't know. I personally always prefer first face-to-face communication, but don't you think this can globally increase introverts?
Let me answer in two things. I think this is a movement that will make us realize how precious face-to-face communication it is. That's why I gave the example before, like people go to a bar, go to the restaurant, and instead of exchanging views, they grab their phones. They are talking to each other with their phones on their hands. So basically, we are not valuing enough face-to-face. And now we are saying, oh, but this will, if we are all digital, if we are doing this all at a distance, it is, and we are not, we will be all introverts. I don't think so. I think that digital communication also gave the possibility, the window of opportunity for people that are truly introverts to be a part of the process. And I think that from now on, we will value much more the face-to-face. But that doesn't mean that we don't understand that we have now other tools. Because think about this, the worst way of communicating with other people is to use like email or chat, because you are taking out like 93% of communication. There is non-verbal. But when you are getting used to do calls like this, this is much better than a phone call. This is because you can share stuff immediately. You can understand the credibility of the person that is talking to you. So this is something that will help us to connect even further. It is paradoxical, it will be by digital means, but we were communicating very badly. Because when we do communication, especially only by email or via chat, it is the worst type of communication ever. I normally, when people send me very large emails, I always say, can I call you? Can we talk over Zoom or Skype or whatever? Because I know that 5 minutes of this kind of communication is much better than going back and forth with emails or with chat. So it is faster and it's much more effective. If you cannot do it in person, because I always say in person is the best. It is the best. But because we will have less, we will value more. This is something like when you don't, if you have lots of money, you don't value another $10, or you don't value that. But if there is less, you value, oh, $10, fantastic. Okay, so the same thing will happen here. So we have here some. I want someone to give me headline. What?
Yeah, I answered that.
Okay, okay. Okay,
yeah.
It is recorded. Okay.
So I was translating some of the things you said in Arabic in the chat box.
Okay.
But our members, most of them, they speak good English. So I think it's good. I was just want to tell you that we will not let you go to JCI Aleppo, because if you go to Aleppo, you will not visit Damascus again. The food there is very very, very good at
Yeah, I heard that.
compete with them.
So next time it has to be a tour. I will do more parts of Syria, because last time it was only Latakia and Damascus and the road between.
Yes, yes. So let's take Shadi. So I'll keep my question till the end. So let's take Shadi. Shadi.
Shadi disappeared. Esan.
Hello, hello, Mr. Filipe. Good
Hello.
evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, actually, you just briefing what we live during last month when you say about the working online remotely management and the reprogramming of JCI Damascus projects to be fitting the actual circumstances. My question to you actually is about could you give us tips of how we dealing with the community as I am VP community in Damascus University and JCI Damascus. So just would you please give us a tips or advices on how dealing with community? As you know, not all community have the same access to Facebook. Is there any tools? Can we do it remotely? Thank you. Thank you in advance.
Okay. One of the things that even when there is not very good internet access, what is, let's say, more democratic is this. So everything that we can use through this is much better. So we can, there are lots of tools, like for instance, to manage teams and to make appointments. I like one that is called Doodle. Also, this, we can use it as a learning tool. So think about this. If we are helping a community to do some, we are talking about hygiene, okay? Or how to end the confinement, how to wear a mask. It's much better to do it like a video. We can do videos and we can do tutorials. It's very easy because this has a camera. It's something that nowadays people are discovering that they can do useful things with this. This is amazing also in terms of access to knowledge. We have over here, never in the history of mankind, we would have something like this that access all the knowledge that is out there. Some years ago, you would be more knowledgeable for your access to some libraries. Now it's democratized. So you have here things that are amazing that you can use. And so even in terms of bandwidth, some of, for instance, things like Coursera, Udemy, and course that you can take courses, you can download it and then see it even when you don't have a connection. There is a lot of these kind of tools that you can use and you can improve the life of a community. So, Shadi, thank you. More questions?
Who's next? Dima. Dima raised hand or not?
I don't see any hand.
Dima raised her hand. I see a raised hand. Yeah, we have Nisreen. Is it you? You asked already a question.
Yeah, but in the same context of his answer, do you have any training material available online?
Myself, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I will be very glad to. I have a course in one platform that is Udemy, and if you send me an email, I will send you a coupon. So I'm putting on the chat my email. So if you send me an email, I will be very glad to send you a coupon so you will have it for free. It's a course about communication. It's a video course.
Thank you. It would be perfect.
Thank you for asking
Sorry.
this question. So we have a coupon right now. Thank you, Nasreen.
I put it only to Zain. It's not, it was because it was reserved here. Now I put it for all again. Sorry.
Yeah, yes, we received it. So whoever likes to attend Filipe course on Udemy, please send him an email. So he will send you a coupon, right?
No, exactly.
Now,
I was glad to do that.
Thank you. Ihsan, would you like to ask? Ihsan Arnaout, you raised your hand. This is the second time. I think the connection is not giving him a yes,
hello?
Ihsan, go ahead.
Hello,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this presentation. Thank you, sir. I would like, actually, I work as an English teacher at the university. So in terms of education, how can we as language teachers be leaders in this field and be like policymakers, change makers to change the internet connection, servers? How can we, in other words, ensure quality education via Zoom, let's say, in a country where this application is blocked? Like you even said it, like Coursera is.
I have a lot of cuts.
So I.
Ihsan, could you write the question in the chat box? We can't hear you.
Thank you. There's situation here in this country.
So, Essam, I couldn't hear your question well. I don't know if I got some bits and bytes. Let me give you an idea from my side in terms of you were talking as a teacher, and I didn't went too deep in anything in this presentation because I wanted to make a discussion more and then go in deep if there was some questions. So go more towards your interest. But as teacher, I'm a strong believer that we are going to return to the model, the education model of the ancient Greeks. So the ancient Greek masters. So how it worked at that time. So let's say Socrates, okay? So you were a disciple of Socrates and you would go from your village, walk for 1 day or 2 days to go and talk with Socrates. And you wouldn't go there and sit in the classroom and wait for Socrates to talk. You would have stuff that you wanted to discuss with Socrates. And Socrates will say, oh, then this and this and this and this. And then he would pose you another question and you would go back to your village 1 or 2 days walking again, and you would work on those questions. And after a few months, you would go again to Socrates and talk with them. So why I'm doing this, giving you this example is because you will have this, as is called now, flipped classroom. So in order to go to a classroom, you will have to prepare yourself, because we live in a very advanced technological time. At the same time, education is still, and I'm sorry to say this, and I'm a college professor, so I'm saying against me, let's say, we are doing a stupid way. So I go to a classroom and I teach something, pum, pa, pum, pa, pum, pa, pum. And then I go to the next classroom and I teach the same thing, pum, pa, pum, pa, pum, pa, pum. I go to the next classroom and I teach pum, pa, pum, pa, pum, pa, pum. The next year I will do the same. So it's all, again, the hamster, okay? So imagine that I have content that help people to come to the room with doubts, or that we will work. So I see the classroom more as a lab in the future than as it is like somebody giving an exposition of a subject. So this is something that we can help students, because, and you as a professor know this, is that we can, for some students, we need to repeat like 3 times for them to get it. but there are students that need only 1 or 2 and they are bored to death when you are going to the third time. And there are ones that need 4, 5, 6, or 7, and they will not get it. So you are trying to do a kind of average, and you will exclude most of the people. So this is something that we need to rethink also the way we teach, because never in the history of mankind knowledge had such a symmetric access. So this is something that is very important. So
we have Mulham.
Yes, Mulham.
Mulham?
Yes.
Mulham, could you unmute yourself?
Space.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Flip. Good evening, everyone. I am pharmacist Mulham Tabba from JCI Homes.
Okay. I passed by when I was going from Latakia to Damascus.
You should visit it again.
I will for sure.
Actually, I don't have a question. I think it's very clear. I just want to thank you. It's very interested training, and it's very interested conversation. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your kind words. So Essam is putting here a question that...
Yeah, Ihsan wrote you the question, if you like to read it and answer it. Did you read it?
Yeah, I read it. The question is that I think that in this crisis also created this idea that either you are prepared for the next ones, because this is one crisis, but we will have more types of crises in the future, some connected with wars, some connected with pandemics. And the way to avoid bigger losses is to have good digital infrastructure. Because again, imagine this same situation back in the 90s, the disaster will be immensely. And some countries are coping with this in a better way because they have the digital infrastructure, a top digital infrastructure, and others are having more difficult. But at the end of the day, it's about what you do with infrastructure, because human resources are very important. And in that, I have to say that every time I went to Syria, I was always impressed with the talent that I've seen and the resilience. Actually, one of the things that I was in Syria, I was in 2010. Everything was okay, no problem. I was in April 2011. That was a problematic moment. And I was with my kids 2 years ago in Syria. And one of the things that I was showing is, even to my kids, I was explaining, and now I think it's very important for the moment that we are living, is that you have a fantastic resilience. You manage to pull through even, and JCI Syria and JCI Damascus are absolutely examples of this. Everywhere in the JCI world, I always say, there is this organization that is amazing, that is unbelievable, but because in very hard circumstances, they manage to survive and thrive. That is even crazier. So you are a great example of resilience. And actually, when this crisis started in Portugal, many times I was thinking about the times that I lived in Syria, and I thought, okay, this is actually nothing. This is much easier. And these guys managed to pull it through. So if they manage, we can. So we have any other question?
So any other questions? JCs? Because if there's no questions, we will say goodbye. So what do you want? Do you want more questions or that's it?
This is like in the weddings, or talk now or forever.
Yeah,
Hold
or
your
stay silent forever.
Exactly. So, well, we can continue that conversation. There was, I will share again my screen because there was somebody that was saying that didn't get the link on time. So if you, with your QR code, pass here on LinkedIn, this goes directly to my LinkedIn account. So you can ask to connect because like I was explaining, you have, when you click on this window that has the QR code, you get the possibility to do the scanning of my QR code, and my profile in LinkedIn appears, so you can click connect and that's it. And we will be connected and we will continue this conversation. Any other questions?
I think Ihsan got the answer and he says thank you. Yeah, because you answered him.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, guys, before we close everything? So, let's finish with the last advices. What do you advise us, Philip, as JCI Damascus and the rest of all the local organizations who are attending with us today, from Homs, from Latakia, from Aleppo, everywhere? What do you advise us as JCI to how to, let's say, adapt our work with the upcoming new situation, so we stay as a pioneering network for young active citizens? You know, this is our vision in JCI. What should we do to stay a pioneering network in the volunteering field as active citizens?
I think that you should reflect about what we talk here about the future, and to do your own idea about what is going to be the future. And if you truly believe that people will need more skills, more digital skills, they will need better infrastructure and everything, that I think should be the role of JCI, to help as much as possible, as much people as possible, to get into this boat, to give them lifesavers, let's say, and to work in each community to help them. Because some years ago, you would help people to know how to read and write. And now you need to help people to have the technological tools. And I think that JCI can over there be part in doing a kind of lobby near the policymakers and explaining what will be the future and why you need to be prepared, because if you are not prepared, you will have a big problem. And also to help the people, the communities, to get inside that boat. Because if not, you will have another type of inequality. People that have access to these kind of skills, that had the possibility to have it, and people that didn't have it. So it's not reading again, but in a different way. And yeah. I think you need, this is the work, because leading is also to have a vision of the future.
Yeah.
So implementing that vision of the future, and you have a very young population, a very talented one, and very eager to learn. That's why it's one of the joys that I have is delivering training in Syria. I remember that when we did the academy in Latakia, I was with my kids, and I said to my kids, look, we will not talk, we will not have time. And they would try to come in the breaks to talk with me. And I had no breaks because people wanted to talk, continue to talk, to have more and more and more. I would be exhausted, but it would be so fulfilled for me, because I really like when people try to get the most knowledge as possible. So that indicates that people have ambition. And when they have ambition, countries go up and up. When they don't have ambition, they only try to stop the cadence. And I see a lot of that in other countries in Europe, that people don't value so much, and because again, too much access. When you have too much access to something, you don't value too much. The same thing we were talking about face-to-face communication.
Right, right. Some members are asking me about the recording. How can they get it? Would you put it on YouTube or?
Depends up to you. I can put it on YouTube if you want.
Yeah. That would be perfect. If you
I will send you the link.
Yes, that would be perfect. Actually, if you could upload it to your YouTube and share with us the link, and we can share it with the rest of the members who couldn't attend. Because usually, as I expected, we were around 40, because with the fasting.
You really get the number, because I saw it was like you said, it will be around 40, and it was like 40, 41, so.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to account for Muhannad. He was sitting back there, and so it's 42 plus 1, 43, the maximum number we reached. Yes. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All the members on the chat box are thanking you for the webinar. They had a good time, and Nasser is saying you always motivate and encourage us to do the best. So everyone is thanking you and saying that it was a great webinar. Thank you very much, Filipe. I really hope that we always have webinars with you and have this opportunity till we have the opportunity to host you here in Damascus again.
I was writing just that I hope to return soon to Syria.
Yeah, soon.
Yes,
Hopefully.
Thank you, LP, Ala. Sorry for interrupting. Mr. Filipe, we are waiting you for another round in the hammam. So
another hammam round.
Yes.
You have to get your revenge, Mr. Filipe.
Yes, yeah. No, we have to get the revenge.
Here is the tasse.
Yes.
You see, I have it. I'm prepared.
Very good, very good. And we will eat shawarma together.
Yes.
And falafel.
Yes. Hope to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Everyone is fasting, so I think they have less than an hour, so they need to prepare themselves and their meals.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Filipe.
Thank you very much.
Again.
Thank you very much. And hope to see you all soon, inshallah.
Omar want to add something. Yes, Senator Omar, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Filipe. Thank you very much for all your passion, for all your advice and the training, fantastic training. I hope everyone will be have tips and hints and something good for him to use it in the future. We hope to see you, the same what the LP says. I hope to see you in the future in Damascus and in any different events maybe in the future. Thank you very much.
And Senator Muhannad also want to say goodbye.
Thank you, Filipe. It was great as usual. As usual, you are the best.
You are very kind to me. You are always very kind.
We love you.
We love you.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Take care. Bye.